An interesting trial is about to start this week in France. It will cover those responsible for the 2015 Charlie Hebdo terrorist attacks, in which 12 people were killed by the brothers Said and Cherif Kouachi over the journal's decision to publish the so-called Muhammad cartoons, images deemed offensive by some. The brothers were in turn killed by French police, and it is their accomplices who will stand trial. In response, Charlie Hebdo has decided to rerun the cartoons. In other words, it will publish, again, the images which led to the brutal deaths of a dozen of its staff 5 years ago. It stands to reason that this act will enrage quite a number of people, again, and could lead to yet another terrorist attack. The question is this worth it? I certainly agree that the freedoms we enjoy in the West, primarily the West, but also in select parts of the rest of the world, are worth protecting and justifying. After all, the converse of what we have, censorship, etc., is not good and is all too common in many nations. Furthermore, people have died to allow us to have these rights and benefits. For example, Giordano Bruno, a 16th century Italian who was burned at the stake for going against the Vatican's erroneous views on the structure of the universe. And I think we cannot and must not dial back these freedoms in the face of threats from those who disagree with our views and seek to stop us from having them. That is clearly blackmail. And we all know that if you give in to blackmail once, those who use it will continue to do so. If blackmailers see that their efforts are successful, why would they stop using them? And yet, I find myself strangely conflicted on the Charlie Hebdo actions. Allow me to try to present both sides of the issue with the full realization that I may do so poorly and unconvincingly. Yes, the French newspaper has every right to publish whatever its owners choose to, provided it does not violate French laws, I would imagine. And the cartoons that came out a few years back are very tame, in all honesty. I have seen much worse. We no longer kowtow to the Vatican or any other religious authority, real or self-styled, and Islamist terrorists do see themselves as the only arbiters of Islam. Thank God, pun intended, for our evolution when it comes to removing the yoke of overbearing religious doctrine. Furthermore, if we are cowed into not doing something at the behest of a terrorist group, we are in effect doing several things at once. A. We are surrendering to a group that uses violence to get its way. B. We are giving terrorists much more attention than they deserve. C. We encourage other terrorist groups to do the same. And D. We lose a little bit of ourselves and chip away at the aforementioned hard-won freedoms. On the other hand, and yes, there is always another hand, this decision could very well lead to another terrorist attack by an Islamist extremist bunch which wants to punish us for our quote-unquote blasphemy. Innocent people, perhaps who have nothing to do with Charlie Hebdo or the cartoons, could be killed and or seriously wounded. And to what end? They did not ask to be part of the struggle, and yet they do enjoy the same freedoms that we all do. Do you see the conundrum here? In order to stand for what we believe in against the forces of hate and intolerance, some will die. This is not the same as choosing to die for a principle, as Giordano Bruno did. The unfortunate victims of a suicide bombing are not necessarily representative of the slight that so pisses off the terrorists, unlike the office workers at Charlie Hebdo. Note, this is not a justification for the attack that killed them in any way, shape, or form, and should not be construed as such. You could say that Charlie Hebdo made its point in 2015 and does not really need to make it again. Yet, if we value our freedoms, we must always defend them, no? If we do not, those who dislike them will chip away slowly, and we will eventually find ourselves in a position where the values we espouse are no longer present. In the end, I want to underscore that I am not an advocate of censorship or holding fire on a topic just because it could lead to an act of terrorism from those who seek to undermine our freedoms. Maybe this is all part and parcel of what it takes to safeguard them. But would you want to be the one to explain to a grieving parent or child that their loved one died in the aftermath of the decision by someone to take action they claim was their right to do so? I sure wouldn't. I wrote this piece a couple of days ago, and it's interesting that you're already seeing reaction around the world to the decision by Charlie Hebdo. Al-Azhar, which is probably the leading Sunni Islamic religious authority in the world in Egypt, has come out against it. Others are coming out for it. I don't think that there is a black and white to this issue. I think there are multiple shades of gray. And I've argued for many, many years now that life is multiple shades of gray. Maybe not 50 shades of gray. We won't go down that pathway. I get concerned when people come up with definitive positions on any issue. It's either this or it's that. It's yes or it's no. It's black or it's white. Again, I am in no way trying to say we should censor ourselves for what we do and do not do. I just hope that the decision by Charlie Hebdo does not lead to another terrorist attack and the loss of innocent life. Anyhow, that's my thoughts. Feel free to weigh in. Talk to you again soon. This is Phil Gurski from Borealis saying goodbye.